Today we're making the perfect game day recipe and it's ready in under 30 minutes. It is almost time for the biggest game of the year, the Super Bowl, and today we're making these hot honey chicken tenders. These are so delicious. They're sweet, they're spicy, they're super tender, and they're ready in under 30 minutes, so let's get started. Okay, so to get started with this recipe, it is really simple. We're gonna be chopping up some chicken breast, which kind of sounds weird. You can definitely use chicken tenderloins too. However, I don't like those tendons that are in there, and I find them a huge pain to have to get out. So a lot of times I just use chicken breasts just to simplify things. I'm using 2 large chicken breasts here, which is about almost 1.5 pounds. So that's gonna feed like a family of 4. If you have a lot of people coming over, you're probably gonna wanna double this recipe. We're also gonna use some flour. We're gonna bread these in the flour and do that simple like dredging mixture. So we're gonna do flour, then egg, then we're gonna dip these in panko so the outsides get really nice and crispy and delicious. For our hot honey sauce, we're just mixing together some honey and then we have some hot sauce. I am using my favorite hot sauce, Cholula, for this recipe, and I'm only using a 1/4 cup because I don't want them to be too spicy, but I do want a lot of flavor here, which I know I'll get from this hot sauce. We're also gonna be using some canola oil to fry our tenders. There's a couple options here. I know a lot of people don't like seed oils. I don't really like them either. I only use them like maybe once or twice, I don't know, every couple months really. I do like it for the Super Bowl because it's a fun time just to fry food, so I'll allow it. However, you can also use avocado oil, which is gonna have a high burning point. If you don't have avocado oil, you can use just a few tablespoons of olive oil with a few tablespoons of butter. Just know you're not gonna get the same crispiness you're gonna get from vegetable oil or canola oil. All right, so we're gonna get started with our hot honey sauce, which is only 3 ingredients, which I love. First up, we've got a 1/4 cup of hot sauce. You can use whatever one you want here. I'm using Cholula. It's my favorite. Some of the sauces, man, like they are so spicy and you just like don't know how hot the flavor is gonna be. We also have 2 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar. This is just gonna add a little bit of acidity. And then the main character is the honey. I've got a whole 1/2 cup of honey. This just like gets so sticky and yummy and perfect. Okay, then we're just gonna set this aside. We're gonna cook this on low heat as the chicken tenders are cooking. Next up, we're gonna get our chicken breast ready. And like I said, you can use tenderloins here too. I'm also like really picky about chicken. I really only buy the Smart Chicken brand because I just think it tastes the best. But I think a lot of people are not as picky about chicken as I am. And if you're not, and if you wanna use the tenderloins, go for it. I know there's like a special way where you can take a fork and just like pull it out. I always found it really tricky, so I just use these instead. But you wanna just trim these up and then we are gonna just cut them into tenderloins. They're gonna look exactly the same. One of the things I love about the Smart Chicken too is that it's not like, you don't have to cut a bunch of the chicken off. Some of it is like, just feels like you're cutting the entire chicken off. There's like nothing left at the end of it. Maybe that's because I'm picky too, I don't know. All right, then once you get these sliced up, I'm just gonna hit mine with a little bit of salt and pepper. We're gonna be coating these in spices and panko and flour, so it's not a huge deal, but I just like to get a little bit under that base because I like them to be a little bit salty. They're good salty. Okay, also I wanted to mention, so I'm like really not big on like a bunch of gadgets in the kitchen. I love this instant read thermometer. I'm using this for the chicken anytime I fry anything, and honestly, anytime I cook any kind of meat, I am using this. It is totally changed my cooking game as far as meats go. I no longer overcook chicken like I used to. I used to be like so nervous, like I didn't want to undercook it and get anybody sick. All right, next up we're gonna get our flour, egg, and panko mixture ready so we can do some dredging. Whenever I'm doing like a dredging situation, I always wanna have really shallow dishes. So I'm either gonna choose like bowls like this that have like a really large rim on top. One of my other favorite things to use is a pie plate. So that way, like, I like to put the eggs in here. Then the chicken can lay flat and get completely coated in the mixture. It's really important to make sure that it's coated in flour, then completely coated in egg, and then in our panko mixture, because that's gonna make it like the best crust on it. Okay, so we are getting started with our flour mixture, which is just a little bit over a cup of flour, all purpose. That's gonna go in our 1 bowl. And then I have some seasoning mix here. I'm doing a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of garlic powder, a teaspoon of onion powder, and just a 1/2 teaspoon of paprika. You could use smoked if you want that smoky flavor. I'm just using regular here. Also, if you want it extra spicy, you could add in like a 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. And I'm just gonna use about 1/2 of this for our flour. I wanna save the rest for the panko mixture. And we're just gonna give this a quick whisk. Next up, we're gonna do our eggs and we're gonna use this pie plate. Once we get our eggs added, just take a fork and just give this a good mix. Just like you would for scrambled eggs. You can also whisk it. Just make sure those yolks are really combined. Okay, and then last, but definitely not least, because this is my favorite part, is the panko. We're gonna use 2 cups of panko. This is just plain panko, it's not seasoned at all. And then we're gonna add the rest of our seasoning mix. And I usually just use my hands, just give this a really good toss. All right, now we are ready to dunk our chicken. I like to just use a cookie sheet. All right, it is chicken dunking time. So first we're gonna go in the flour. You wanna dredge that really well, make sure it's completely coated. Next, we are going in our egg. I don't know why I put the panko there, I almost dunked it. My brain is not working today, not yet. Then we're gonna dunk it in our egg mixture. Make sure it's completely coated in egg. Every single piece is wet, and then it's gonna go straight into our panko. Give that a nice toss. This is where your fingers really get coated. And then once it is all coated like this, we're gonna set it right on our cookie sheet. That one is ready to fry. And we're just gonna continue this with all of our mixture. A lot of times I get lazy and I start doing like 3 at once, which is totally fine, whatever you wanna do. You guys let me know in the comments what your favorite thing to eat for game day is. You know, I think my favorite thing is maybe potato skins. I love those. I always eat those at restaurants, but I don't really make them at home that much. I need to make those more at home. They're so yummy. I also love chicken wings. I actually like boneless wings too, which some people are like really grossed out by, but I think they're delicious. It's like a little bite-sized treat. But this is definitely a great one to make, especially maybe you're not making chicken wings this year. You can do these instead. They're definitely easier to eat. You can eat the whole thing. Chili's always good too. I also have a video on a baked potato bar, which is really fun to make with chili for the Super Bowl. And it's like super cheap to feed everyone. Everybody always loves that one too. You can do like a ton of different toppings. Our chicken tenders are ready to fry. I'm using my Dutch oven. Y'all, we've been using Dutch oven like crazy. But I'm gonna be using this. Obviously, you can use a regular deep fryer too. I don't have one, so like we pretty much fry everything in the Dutch oven. Another thing I wanted to say too, before you throw that panko away, if there's any chicken tenders that are looking like they're missing a little bit of coating, you can just use your hand and kind of just like put some more on there and just, you know, pat it down so it stays. For our oil, we want it to be around 350 degrees for frying. I usually just go to about a medium heat on my stovetop. My stovetop runs pretty hot because I have a gas stove. So if you need to go a little bit higher up, you definitely can. For our hot honey sauce that we have ready, I'm just gonna heat this over low and I'm just gonna let it cook the whole time. I'm gonna stir it a little bit as we go. You also wanna think about once those tenders come off, it's gonna be a little crazy. We're gonna be doing 2 batches. I like to just put a little bit of foil underneath the baking rack and then I can transfer them right to here. Any extra grease will just drip right off. So we're gonna add 1 cup of oil into our Dutch oven and you wanna heat this up to medium heat. Way to check it is to drop a little piece of panko in there, make sure it's really sizzling before you add in that chicken. If not, it will kind of absorb into the panko layer and it's not gonna taste as good. We only need to cook this for about 2 minutes on each side. We want the internal temperature to be 165 degrees before we pull them out. Okay, so we are popping our next batch in now. The one thing I don't like about using olive oil and butter for this is that it's gonna be burnt. So you're gonna have to let it cool off, wipe it out, and then start over again. Avocado oil might be okay because it has a higher burning point, but it's gonna make the chicken, like the outside taste bitter if you use that burnt butter and oil. So make sure you switch it out at this point if you're not using canola or vegetable oil. Okay, you guys, yum. These look so good, perfectly crispy, so delicious. I like to bring that sauce to a boil, like just for a second, and then I'm gonna transfer it into a bowl like this and just let it cool down a little bit. I want it to thicken a little bit. Okay, so I'm just gonna pour about half of my sauce into a little bowl like this because I don't want my chicken to immediately soak up all this sauce. And then we are gonna add all of our chicken. We're gonna immediately start tossing this. I really try not to use the tongs so I don't have to scrape off any of the extra coating. All right, and then once we get it mixed in really good, we're just gonna pour the rest of our sauce over top. Oh my gosh, this looks so good. Okay, these are officially ready to eat. I'm gonna transfer mine to a serving platter. I like to serve some celery beside these and carrots and ranch just because they are pretty spicy. There's also gonna be some sauce at the bottom, so you can always just like drizzle that over the top too if you want extra sauce. Okay, I'm a super baby about spice, so I had to do ranch. These are so good. That's it, you guys. We are all done with these delicious hot honey chicken tenders. I hope you guys make this one for game day. It is so yummy. Honestly, you can make it anytime. It would go great with tater tots or french fries. This is a great dinner. We're using the Dutch oven again. It's so simple. Let me know in the comments if you guys are trying this for game day this Super Bowl. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to hit that like button and make sure to subscribe for new recipes every single week. I love sharing them with you. Thanks so much for being here. I'll see you next time. Bye. Y'all, yum. That's ridiculous.